Hello and welcome to Conversations with Nurit. I am Nurit and I'm speaking with you today from Budapest, Hungary. And my guest today is Tobias Lars. Hi, Tobias.
Hi.
It's so nice to finally meet you. I've watched a lot of your videos and I must say I love what I hear and what I see. I love the fact that you are a no bullshit kind of spiritual teacher, healer, guide, and especially what caught my attention the most is the inner body awakening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, got all tangled up. That's okay.
You're a funny soul, I can tell. You like to laugh, I can tell.
I love to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was born laughing, believe it or not. Anyhow, this is about you, not about me.
No, we don't know yet.
Oh dear. What did I get into? So back to inner body awakening. I love that because it really speaks to me so much because I've been on a path for, I don't want to say how many years anymore.
3,422 life.
Yeah, something like that. Umpteen lifetimes. I'm one of, I like the phrase that you use, been through the spiritual ringer. I'm quoting you.
Yeah.
So, and in many teachings that I've been on and that I'm aware of, the body's really gotten a bad rap.
Yeah.
Body and the emotions. And so when you talk about awakening the inner body, that's means a lot to me. And perhaps you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a constant theme. My little life was yogic, to start. I'm 19. I'm at the University of Connecticut, and I'm a swimmer and an athlete and all that, and playing football, soccer. But it all collapsed. It kept me out of trouble. I know that. Later, looking back on your life, you realize, I would have been a little delinquent if I didn't have the sports telling me, to get up at 5 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
Swimming. But I had some kind of Kundalini awakening at 19, and everything changed, So, but that was good yoga, Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, and I went to India a couple of times to study with Sai Baba or encounter him, which I know he's controversial for some things, but he's been a real, anyway, so I could see my past lives in Indian yoga, Vedanta, full-on, yogi, sannyasa and all that. So I did that that was what clicked in till I was about 29. And then everything kind of went kapoo, bluey. And I know stuff. I can raise my Kundalini and I can leave them out of the top of my head and, whatever, right? And so I wasn't a neophyte on things. But, and spirit, source, God, whatever you want to, came into my life. And I met a shaman friend, also a white guy, but he was a little bit ahead of me. And together he showed me the nature kingdom, literally fairies, devas. We had a gnome. I mean, it's just going to sound funny, I know, but we had a little gnome in the Superstition Mountains right from where I'm sitting here in Phoenix today, about 25 miles just due east. These strange mountains where things disappear. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. They used to have an Air Force base that they closed because they used to lose their jets over the Superstition Mountains. And we spent a spring out there. And for me, opening up, that's my dog, by the way, if you hear them.
I saw him in the video.
That's the toilet bowl. Stop it. I don't know. All right, fine.
Here, I'll drink with him.
It opened up to, wow, there's Pan, the god Pan with the horns, the manifestation of God on earth. Gnomes, fairies. We had a little gnome. His job was to try to open my third eye. And I'm telling stories like this because it's the real spiritual path. It's all real, by the way. We can be Buddhist, Advaitaists, And it's all just exploration and different approaches. Well, my little yogic life got devastated, and I like that word, deva, state.
Oh, yeah.
Deva is, of course, the devas,
Hmm.
gods, and so forth.
Yeah, I've done the Indian trip too, so I'm
Yeah.
familiar with those terms.
And let's thank them. Let's thank all that. How beautiful. I just encountered Krishna for the first time. Literally, I've never really encountered him personally. And visionary space, and I'm not a promoter of this for anybody unless you're called to, but ayahuasca space, we do shaman trips to Peru. And Krishna showed up in one of the ceremonies. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it's a beautiful insertion. This is all, of course, my perspective. From some ancient planetary system, Shiva, Krishna, Ganesha. I've got some of them here. Look, a Ganesha, check it out. He's heavy.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Black. Why? Because we're always trying to make them all light and gorgeous and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's part of an ongoing theme, that which we have relegated to the darkness, the emotions and the physical, we have abandoned and judged. And so this 29, it opens back up. No, include the body, include your emotions. Actually, the emotions, the way I do interviews is I'm random access, meaning I'm going to be all over the place. Why? Because the linear mind needs to be dissolved.
Yeah, very good.
Right?
Excellent.
Yes. We're going to include it. We're going to respect it, but we're not going to let it run the show anymore. It's running us into the ground, obviously.
Absolutely.
So we need heart and feeling. Emotions are going to turn out to be the savoir-faire. I hope I said that right. The nuance, the beautiful joy, enjoyment. Earth is actually a very advanced planet. We have a self-image problem. We like to give our power away to the gods or to the advanced ETs, the Arcturians, Pleiadians, whatever. And these are all very real things. But the reality is Earth is a forefront, an avant-garde experiment in making true gods. Us. We are gods. And every teacher tells us that. Buddha doesn't say, hey, you all need to follow me. He basically says, what I'm doing is exactly you guys. Jesus says it right to people's faces.
Yeah.
Don't you? He probably got frustrated one afternoon. I'm sure he got frustrated several afternoons. But he finally just says to the crowd, don't you know you're gods, damn it? I'm editorializing a little.
You mean
know?
Did you use the F word?
I'm sure he did. What's F for Aramaic? I'm Aramaic. I don't know. We should find out. But anyway, yes, so it got very clear that my teachers, which include Jesus, I've met him 3 times personally. This is all possible right now, actually. There's a deep thing in all of us, or in the collective programming, that somehow we're not allowed to be face-to-face with God.
Yeah.
It's a deep program we grew up with. No one can survive coming face-to-face with God. That's not good to tell 10-year-olds. Right?
Yeah, I know.
So,
I love your video. What's it? Stir up and clean your fucking shadow. I love that. You know,
yes. I hesitated even putting that one out. I mean, I was like, oh my
really.
God, I can't put this out.
Oh,
You
it's
know?
so good.
And something took over my hand and pushed the publish button with my finger.
That was probably me.
Yeah.
I love that one. You know, people don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens. It's very real.
It's happening now kind of more and more en masse. We can't run when the waters are rising, which is sort of like the age of Aquarius, whatever methodology or symbology we want to use. But the energies are rising, and really the only choice you have when the river's rising is to get your boat and go for a float, right?
Yeah.
So that's our emotions. If we're not noticing, we certainly are. It started, in the 60s, boom, we need to deal with being real humans, and that's feelings and psychology and Freud and Jung, and we need to actually self-examine, and try to clean it. And then on the spiritual path, and believe me, I'm a participant. Babaji is one of my main teachers, Yogananda's Param Guru, who was Krishna, actually, believe it or not. That is Krishna, and still physical body as well. Of course, they all start melting. One thing when you realize, when you work with masters, they sort of like don't care about having individualities anymore. So they're like, yeah, I'll be Krishna for a while. Who cares? You know, is that okay with you, Krishna? They literally are. If you can reach that place, if we can get past that, we don't deserve to have direct communion with Source. It's right there. Every teacher says it. Yogananda is so sweet. He says, the nearest of the near, the dearest of the dear. It's as close as your very breath.
Yeah.
And the rest is these fear veils, you know.
Mm.
And fear veils have created timelines, civilizational, planetary horrors.
Yeah.
We blew up. The asteroid belt is the remnant of Maldek or Tiamat or a planet that we, many of the souls currently incarnated actually, blew up. And there's some serious trauma we carry with us, and then Atlantis and so forth. All things shall come to light. So at this time on Earth, that's what's happening. And I work with very people find me sometimes that have been, like you said, on the path for a long time, and that's beautiful. We've gone down all kinds of explorations on this planet, but it's something simpler is coming.
Yeah.
And it's here. But it includes become ye as little children. Mm. And that is actually the gift that the earth has for the universe. All these super scientific ETs from the center of the galaxy, like the tall 12-foot ones with the giant heads that you see on Star Trek, that's all true. And parts of us are living in these places as well. We're galactic humans. It's a long story. It all makes sense. I always tell people this. So whatever tradition you've been in, Buddha is not a Buddhist, Jesus is not a Christian, etc. They are galactic flying spaghetti monsters. You know, and they tone themselves down or up according to what we can handle. But so yeah, that explosion of my little Vedantic yogic path happened at 29 or so, and thank you very much. And when my teachers would tell me, they just said, well, they changed, things changed. You know, there was actually, we did very well. Edgar Cayce, the only prediction he was wrong about was that the world was going to do a giant flip on 1999. We were going to have the planetary shift and the polar shift, and good prophets make sure their prophecies don't come true. Right?
Yeah.
At least the warning prophet. So something changed. We're doing very well. What if we took a moment and realized, in spite of the appearance of chaos, ever since we've been kids, there's always been the threat of World War III in the Middle East. Think about it.
That's true.
For 50, 60 years.
Mm.
It never comes. We do have divine grace protection.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, one of the key things for the kids to grow up, even if you've been a yogi and you've learned to leave your body like the rainbow body Tibetans do, and leave just a little 4-inch black ash behind, that's pretty advanced yoga, Kundalini. But if you didn't take your emotions with you, if you didn't become ye as little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven, Jesus. Right? I mean, that's pretty direct, right?
Yeah.
Unless you become as little kids, you will not enter. What does that mean? Well, it means your innocence has to be along with you.
Yeah.
You can be wizard Solomon. Solomon's a wizard. He can float stones. He has the remnant knowledge from Egypt of floating stones. They didn't build 2.5 million blocks, 2.5 tons, 1 million blocks, you know, just by hauling them all. They floated those just like they did in Sacsayhuaman and Cusco. These were old technologies of frequency, sound, and that ankh is actually a little thing in that little staff and rod they have. Solomon remembered that, and that came from Atlantis, and then previously from other civilizations in our solar system. But he's a wizard, Solomon. Yes, he can make the Solomonic seal, the lesser key, the larger key, call the elementals and float rocks. That's pretty cool stuff. You did it at Stonehenge too. But it's still not as advanced as Jesus or Krishna.
Right.
Because they've retained innocence, or they've gone back to innocence. But smart innocence, not naive innocence.
Yeah.
And that's the full spectrum human, I call it. And we're actually meant to be God. So I want us to encourage ourselves. We're going to be the seeds. It's very brave if you're a soul incarnating on earth. You're actually very brave. A lot of the ETs are like, no, we're not going down there. We'll stay over here and watch. We like to watch TV. Right?
We like to switch channels.
Yes, we like to be the coach on the sidelines, but we don't want to get in the game. Sometimes I joke with them about that. Come on, you get a body. If you think you know what you all this, get a body and come here. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah. And
So
don't go running to the Himalayas.
That was my plan, actually. This lifetime.
Yeah.
It changed totally. Totally.
Yeah.
So a moment of appreciate, if you're a human dealing with your emotions and physical purging and karmas purging through your physical, you're doing great work. It's really a time-space focus of multiple dimensions. If you're on a blue light planet like Sirius or something, it's all beautiful. There's free energy. There's no locks on the doors. There's no crime, right? But you're also kind of stuck in just a certain frequency.
Oh.
On Earth, we're doing the full spectrum. We're doing the full infrared to ultraviolet spectrum and the visible spectrum. And so it's 7 chakra plus more chakra system that we're trying to create a new galactic God model, which is us. And so we need to realize that. Not everyone on Earth, but the people that are interested, which is about 15 or 20% of the population, that are interested in something newer, a freer system. We all feel it. Isn't that amazing? Just like for a moment. Feel how it's spreading across the planet.
It is.
Time magazine at the grocery store the other day was like mindfulness. I'm like, really? Time magazine? That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's also a lot of mind-based teachings, though, and non-duality mind-based teachings. They use all the non-duality words, and I wanted to know what your take on it is. On that is because I feel in a way it's misleading.
Can be a total trap. Yeah.
Pardon?
Can be a total trap, and is sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like a pretend spirituality.
I will agree totally.
Yeah.
And I don't like that term, and in the video, I made a little video about mindfulness. I don't call it that because I'm joking. It doesn't matter what you call it, but you have to learn to feel the essence. Heartfulness, presencefulness. Eckhart's presence is much more accurate than. And so, but feel this: every teaching can and often does get corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the master has left the building, Elvis has left the building. Right?
Yeah, and then there's all these Elvis impersonators.
Yogananda has left the planet.
Yeah.
Osho has left the planet. Right. As soon as that happens, organizationitis comes in, right? Yeah. Worse than arthritis.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the deal. It's very loving of teachers even know that. Even someone like Osho, who was sort of planting self-detonating mind grenades to make sure it wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
It's still going to happen. I mean, I love the story when they first transcribed one of, I'll get to the advice. And when Osho first started talking in some park, in India, after he'd been a super famous academician and won the gold medal in India. It's like winning the Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
And the rebel he was so sweet. So he's like, he wins the prize for the whole country of India. That they kind of worship intelligence, like the Japanese. It's like all about, my child got great tests at the academic trials. You know what I mean? It's a big thing,
Yeah.
And Osho wins the gold medal for all of India, 12 different states, and it's in the papers, and everyone's anticipating. What does Osho do? He says, if I win the gold medal, I'm throwing it in the well. And he does. All the professors are so proud, his parents, the whole state, the country, the media. Osho takes the gold medal in front of the whole university and throws it in the well.
Yeah.
This is not true knowledge.
Yeah.
He was such a beautiful trickster,
Yeah.
Even him, when they first brought him a book that they transcribed for him, he said, I'm not writing anything, but if you want to copy down my words, you can. And they brought the book to him and said, Osho, master, should we copyright it to you or to the foundation? And Osho said, no copyright. Everybody can reprint any of my stuff anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
And their brains are like, that doesn't make sense. This is not the way. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's dead or moved on, then now it's all copyrighted and controlled. But that's just normal,
Yeah.
So any teaching can be misused. I hear an amen from Jesus over here. I hear some other people nodding their heads. Any teaching.
Lively bunch there.
Yeah. So Advaita, about non-duality, where there is no sin, there is no fall. What fall? There was no fall, blah, 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 all that, right? Can get very tricky. The mind ego loves to stay in charge,
Yeah.
So Advaita is any religionism. I think Taoism, really. Here's my allow the Tao. Allow the Tao. Hello.
Yeah.
Allow the Tao. I think Lao Tzu was the only one who could, he was trying to get out of town. Remember, you always see him on the water buffalo. If you ever look at pictures if you Google Lao Tzu right now, there's pictures of him on the water buffalo. He was trying to sneak out of town. He's like, I'm leaving all of civilization. And I'm just riding off on my water buffalo. And some young farmer saw him leaving and said, Master, before you leave, could you write something down for me? And he says, oh man, I almost got away cleanly. Right? But that's the universe talking through the young farmer and saying, and he feels the Tao, and of course says, I will. And he writes that incredible book, the Tao Te Ching, that somehow remains unpolluted. You can't pollute it. It's like in the in-between space of verse and song and lyrical, and so you can't really pollute it. So therefore there's been no religions able to be starting around Taoism. They're about the only one. There's Taoist temples, but since the teaching is so deep that all methods work, you can't create an us versus them with Taoism. But just about anything else, and even that, the mind, ego, and by the way, again, random access here. I know we end up fighting the mind, like we made the mind or the ego the enemy. And what happens if we make something the enemy? Kind of strengthens it.
Absolutely.
We fight the weeds with horrible weed killer, and the weeds come back stronger, right? We fight viruses or bacteria in our body with antibiotics, anti-bio, that's a good anti-life. And of course, they'll come back stronger. So Swami Muktananda, in his book, Play of Consciousness, the first time it got through to me, just says a little line in there. Embrace the mind. Love the mind. Give it its rightful place.
I was with Muktananda. He was my first teacher.
Wow. Wow.
Actually translated that book into Hebrew.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I never met him. I heard of him,
Yeah.
and I know it's a radical Shakti path. And
Yeah.
as usual, the organizationitis sets in. Didn't the
Oh,
brother and the
yeah.
daughter fight or something?
Yeah. All hell broke loose after he died.
Yeah. So let's forgive that. Anyone who listens to this, just hold space for a crazy human. We fight each other. It
Mhm.
goes fanatical and scriptural, and it has to be. No. We must wear the blue robes on Sundays.
Yeah.
The master. No. The red robes. I distinctly heard him say the red robes.
Yeah.
We will now fight for the next 5,000 years.
Yeah. We used to have
Yeah.
we used to have a saying, we used to call him Baba. We used to say, how many devotees of Baba does it take to change a light bulb? We used to say 102. One to stand on the ladder and switch it, and 101 to tell you Baba's way of doing it. Yeah.
Feel love for that. And also be honest with it, but just to realize, it's not meant. I heard God tell me, when I say God, I say my inner voice. Sometimes it's Master Shiva, whoever. Sometimes it's some nebulous, source that doesn't have form and name. But it's not meant to be to work. It's meant to wake you up. And then sometimes people hit with Advaita. Anyway, with Advaita, yes, the mind can do a runaround. It can try to bypass the chakras. It can go, I don't have a root chakra. Really?
So they say don't exist.
Right. What root chakra? It has never existed. Right. It can get weird because the ego mind wants to do a bypass because we're so hungry or so much in aversion to having a body. Isn't there tons of teachings about the flesh is weak?
Mhm.
You must ascend out of the body. That's, a lot of the yogic stuff became an aversion to humanity, to being human,
Mhm.
to feelings, to body. And if you truly need to embrace it, and you can't fool Mother Nature
Yeah.
or Source. You can't be either accept. This morning, I had some stuff coming up, and you could say some old entities that's purging out of me that went on just for me, and there's some afterbirth of that, and keeping that real. The body doesn't lie to you.
Mm.
Your emotions don't lie to you. The mind will conjure. Oh, I'm enlightened now. Right? But your body won't lie to you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to have advisors? Let's say you're running for a political office in America.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Wouldn't it be nice to have advisors that will be honest with you?
Yeah.
Right now, for a moment, my emotions, now they, in my body, at their root, do not lie to you. They're your children, like 2 5-year-olds, a boy and a girl. They'll be honest with you. So if we shift right now in the quantum moment, all those teachings, forgiveness for all the fighting, pushing down, efforting to look better than we really are, the false image presentation. Nothing wrong with looking good, but it needs to be integrated.
Yeah.
Like if this is not integrated, there's a dissonance. So the whole image presentation or trying to look good for God or do the right spiritual thing is a really tricky avoidance path. But with Advaita, you can bypass the heart, you can bypass your solar plexus, bypass sexuality, bypass everything and try to jump into third pineal gland, third eye explanation. But if you feel Advaita teachers, if they don't have that fun play, If they can't roll in the grass with your golden, for authentic purposes now, not so it looks good. Okay? Right? It's about how it looks good. Let's kiss the babies so it looks good so I can be elected. Get that thing away from me. Can I have a wipey, please? Well, there's spiritual teachings like that too. We'll put up with humanity because I should be nice. The real teachers will walk amongst us. Not all the time, they retreat. But so Advaita can be a rejection. Actually, it's not so subtle. It's an anger rejection that I hate being incarnate. I really prefer just to float in fifth dimension in the thought realms, which is very pleasurable for some spirits. But so when we make the leap, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
What fall? There's no disconnect.
Yeah.
It's just a concept.
Yeah.
Yes, it sounds really good. And it has truth to it because it is true. The bigger the truth, the more clever the half-truth, right?
Yeah. That's
the more
right.
hooky, the more hooky the half-truth will be.
Yeah.
So Advaita can be totally misused if
Yeah.
it doesn't have heart, emotions, feeling, and body. And I would say most of the Advaitas today are sincere souls who sort of reached for this will solve it, but they're really in denial of being human.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I've actually talked to one once who I asked him, so what do you teach? And he said, oh, I don't teach anything. I wanted them to, why are there all these students around you? You know what I mean? So yeah.
It just happened.
It just showed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So keeping it real. In fact, that's a little saying I like, get real to heal. And Earth is about feelings and sex and emotions and anger and sadness and grief and ecstasy and bliss, while not it taking you over.
Yeah.
Meaning observer, you are observer and enjoyer. Not just observer, that's a little clinical. I'm enjoyer of my spectrum of emotions, or non-judger. And as these little knowledges of good and evil, oh, I shouldn't look that way. You know, yesterday I walked out of my room because I was doing my taxes, a very down-to-earth thing. And Allie, one of the dogs, Joy had put her in the backyard because she couldn't have her out front because there's a visitor here and the gates are open and we have a street right there with cars. And I walk around the corner and I see Allie sitting in the back, and for 10, 15 minutes, she's been yapping like, let me in, let me in, let me in. She's a 2-year-old little golden. And out of my mouth comes, damn it, we can't fucking leave her outside like that. I'm being very human, right?
Mm.
And now Joy's granddaughter is sitting over there, which I didn't realize. So she thinks I'm telling her, why the bleep did you do that? And she's hurt. And later at lunch, she tells Joyce, I don't know what to say. I felt like a deer in the headlights when Tobias said that. So that's human. So this morning I'm texting her, it wasn't at you, honey. I was just irritated with, angry that I'm being human. Now, while that anger is surfacing in me, I'm not giving license to it. It's not about giving yourself license to be a jerk. It's not what it's about. But being honest, what's still there. Because when we suppress a part of ourselves, it's like a wolf biting their paw off. You can still hobble around. Most people are pretty much hobbling around the planet right now. Emotional cripples, actual physical cripples, usually by the time we hit 50, 60, it starts manifesting physically. So there is a way to be. So I wrote Quincy and said, honey, it wasn't directed at you. I was just angry at the world and a little bit at Nana because she had left her out back, and that's not right for a 2-year-old, blah, blah, blah. And then you're willing to work it out. How did you feel? I felt pissed. Well, I felt hurt that you misunderstood. These are the details that super spiritual people don't want. We don't want to lower ourselves to work out the muck of humanity.
Yeah.
I transcended that 4 lifetimes ago. I've only returned to help the poor suffering masses, to grace you with my permanent non-modulated voice. Right?
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
was in the teaching room. We were scolded if we weren't smiling.
Really?
And if you had a bad mood, forget it. You were like
Yeah.
excommunicated.
Oh, she's toxic. We must
Yeah,
quarantine her.
I know.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
got divorced, no one wanted to talk to me. They were afraid that something would pollute them. Oh
Contagious.
my God. Yeah.
I know. And yet, when you look at teachers like Jesus or real teachers like Yogananda, you know, that they put up with that to try to help people come out of it. They'll play with the rules, you know. But when you're with them, they're like, "Come here, kids," and then they can be hard as steel with that religionism or organization itis. But it is inside. We're all still 3-year-olds
Yeah.
unless we've healed that part.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding. When you do heal a big emotional issue, you're like, oh my God, I'm floating now. I
Yeah.
just feel full of energy. So it's beautiful. The proof is in the pudding. When you actually heal your emotions, your heart, your belly, you're like, oh my God, my cells are on fire. And then when you're like sitting there forcing yourself to do the 3-hour super meditation, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible.
I hated it.
How did you get in there? Because you're a fun earth spirit. You are. You're like a effervescing bubble of the fun earth spirit. You know?
I don't know. I hated every moment of meditation. I
Here
still
was
don't
your
like
here was your assignment between lies. Listen, there's a lot of stick in the people. I mean, we didn't mean to say stick in the mud. Erase that, Your Honor. There's a lot of people that are stuck on a ritual and they think that methodology will save them. So,
Yeah.
Nurit, will you volunteer to go down there and sit there with your bubble presence in the midst of them? And you're like, sure, I'll do that.
Oh dear.
Later you're
What
like,
was I thinking?
later you're like, I was hoping there would be a buffet and some dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was hoping we could have some fun and some joking and maybe some sex even. Maybe.
Yeah, well, no, not that.
Oh, I have to read the
Celibate for I don't know how many years I had to be celibate. I was practicing to be a nun.
Yeah,
I'm a swami,
yeah. And you know what? And let's forgive all that. Like right in this moment, feel it's silly. It is silly. It is sad,
Yeah. Hmm.
But we do it as humans. And then, I mean, the masters, they're not cruel, but they do have a lot of fun.
On our
Someone comes,
Tananda used to say, "Do as I say, not as I do."
totally.
And we were all celibate, and when I got married, I felt so guilty for having sex. I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell. And then after he dies, I find out that he's been screwing 16-year-olds.
Of course, a secret tunnel. You have to have a secret tunnel for the 16-year-old.
Secret chakra for that.
What are you doing, Muktananda? It's sacred chakra activation.
Yeah, you haven't heard about the fourth eye.
Totally.
I'm beyond the third eye.
But the thing is, it's actually true. It is actually true that it is sacred chakra. I mean, every tradition on the earth, whether it's the Greeks or the super ninjas or the samurai or Native Americans or Hawaiians or Peruvian shamans, sex activation is always a part of the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for that, actually. This came up yesterday, too, as a subject. It's time for that to start being surfaced as well. And there's been, but it's because we were so traumatized with sex, and it's so powerful that we did shut it down. And because we were like, oh my God, we're setting fire to everything, Right? Oops, I touched her and she blew up. You shut down my energy, which is actually true. And, and so guilt and the slowdown of the creation comes in. The creation is the sexual. So one of the sayings in my book is God is sex, God loves sex, life is, of course. But so masters sometimes, they're not fully healed themselves and they're activated, but they will reflect the collective beliefs and what people want. Do you want, you go to Shiva and you go, can I start a sectarian cult about that we all smoke dope once a year? And, like those guys in Varanasi or whatever. And Shiva goes, yes. And off we go, and we create the cult. And he's like, sure. The answer is always, sure, try it.
Yeah, what's it to him?
We get our self-reflection, So in a sense, you could say it's not cruel because it's allowing free will. So masters, even ayahuasca and masters, they will allow, quote, misuse of the energies or creating cults or controlling other souls. Because in the sort of, let them try it. Let them find their own balance instead of, because as soon as you step in and start giving rules, you become the rule giver. And let's talk to Moses. Moses, how do you feel about that? How's that rule giving thing work for you? What? Where are you going? What? Apparently didn't want
Moses has left the building.
Moses is headed at light speed in the other direction.
He'll sink into the Nile before he gets into rules.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
They're really funny. Now, because once you hit total forgiveness, then I try to get one of my teachers, and he's worked with gay sex as an awakener, right? Okay. And which breaks all the taboos, meaning now with when you do sex outside your routine, you have to go to the source. So this is not people that are attracted to men, but men actually trying to love each other that are masculine men, that will blow their egos apart, for example. So I was talking to him about, I was reading how horrible it is in Africa, keeping it real, these young child soldiers and how they rape them and how it's a virus, like shamans will say, you can put viruses, energy viruses into people, especially through misuse of sex, right? Mm-hmm. I write to him and go, these horrible articles by the Guardian and, they're raping guys, 20 guys a day. It's just destroying, energetic, very, very bad. I mean, horrible stuff. And I write to him, part of it going, you kind of have to agree that there can be horrible misuse of this stuff. And then what he writes back is he goes, thanks for the article on our human misadventures of sex. I'm going, you fucking won't agree with me that that's horrible? But the point is, from that perspective, it's easy to say once you're a god, it's all good. Mm. But in the trenches, it is horrible human suffering. Yeah. But the best, you can't get, I find the masters, I cannot get them to agree with my victimology. If I've ever any victimology where I'm a victim or this is horrible and God should not have created it, they will not go there. No. They just won't agree with that there's evil. Yeah. I mean, they agree with unconscious, that we're unconscious or that we're learning or, that we're going off side tangent paths, like blowing up planets or whatever. But it's like God just says to the kids, there you go, play with all the toys in the sandbox. And he knows we're going to whack each other over the head and we're going to steal each other's stuff. And eventually we'll learn to not do it by experience. So masters often will let people go down very dark paths in order to learn for themselves. Yeah.
I understand that you do ayahuasca retreats.
I do, and I never thought I would do this. I did some experimentation with psychedelia, LSD, and some psilocybin mushrooms when I was in college. And then once I woke up to Kundalini or Holy Spirit, energies and direct communion with Source, and that's where your sadhana or your learning is. I said, well, I'm done with that. I need to do it for real. But about 10 years ago, I was standing in an airport in Atlanta, Georgia, and there was a magazine there that said, it was National Geographic Adventure, and it said, my journey to Helen. Oh, it had a beautiful picture on the front of these slot canyons, these beautiful sand canyons.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a beautiful picture on the front of that magazine of these slot canyons that are in northern Arizona by Lake Powell, these beautiful water-worn waves of beautiful sandstone. And the voice in my head said, pick up the magazine. And I'm like, why? I know that place. I live close to it. I've met the Navajo woman whose family owns it. I love the bit. I don't need to buy the $6 magazine for that. Get the magazine. Okay. So I open it up, and there's a picture of a shamanic ceremony, kind of dark in the jungle, ceremonial hut. And it says, my journey to hell and back, visiting shamans in Peru. And about a month or two before, I had told Spirit, okay, if there's something you suggest that I should do, I'll do it. Careful when you say that stuff, by the way. So instantly I go, oh no, right? I can feel it right then that I need to go. And so I did, and ayahuasca is one of the mother plants of all the sort of entheogens.
Mm-hmm.
Entheogens, those which carry theo within them.
Oh.
Theo is theology,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Theos, Greek word, entheos, enthusiasm, God within. And so I ended up going down to the jungle and going, wow. And yes, so Aya has been in my life ever since. And just recently, about 2 years ago, I looked for about 10 years to find the right place that I could really support and feel good about. And I did some ceremonies on my own with people. But I told Aya, I really don't want to go to the jungle for 6 years and become a full-fledged shaman. You know, it's a lot of work and a tradition. And besides, I don't like the creepy crawly guys that much.
Yeah.
I would have done it, but it wasn't my role. It's not my role to be a full ayahuasquero shaman.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, I've run into a guy who was willing to do all that. And he's built a beautiful place in the Sacred Valley in Peru, and there's no agenda. I go to Hopi land too a few times a year, and just in native traditions, everything's coming to the surface nowadays. Everything's boiling. The water shall boil, whether it's inside us, our stuff needs to come up, but also collectively. And so native peoples are going through a change as well. There has been a lot of black magic, let's just be honest, with native stuff, whether it's in Africa or in Hopi land or in Quechua or Inca land or the Aztecs or the Mayans were pretty clean, but they left, in case you noticed, right? So part of that is this reemergence of mixing the native traditions, but they have a teaching, they have an upgrade coming for themselves as well. The same prophecies with the Incas, with the Hopi. You could say the Condor and the Eagle, the two main tribes of North and South America, are the Inca and the Hopi. The Hopi were the only native North American tribe that was never moved off their land. Them and their sister tribe, the Zuni, because they were gentle, they were nonviolent. The natives were not all nice to each other. They slave traded each other and used black magic on each other. Their shamans used warfare. So the ayahuasca tradition in the Amazon came out of a lot of warfare. So the brujo, the dark side of it, is still present. And we have to be real about that. Get real to heal. Instead of the noble savage and let's all flock down to Iquitos and Pucallpa and have spiritual enlightenment. No, you're more likely to get some implants put into you by some shaman that's going to want you to bring more people down so he can make more money. I'm just being honest. I know. So 80% of them, the usual rule, I have a video on YouTube called Caveat Emptor, Buyer Beware Ayahuasca Shamanism. And as it grows, we'll hear more horror stories of rapes and deaths and stuff. This is part of the deal. Life is like that,
Yeah.
So there's no magic pill, whether it's with pharmaceutical companies or with religionism or with shamanism. You have to do the work. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So we do bring people down. We're very lucky, and it's a gorgeous place. Mike is independently financed. He doesn't need money, so he's built a gorgeous place. It's really a luxury retreat. But the main thing is the medicine. We wanted to, so it's in the mountains, the Sacred Valley, where the traditional Inca shamans worked with Huachuma, the San Pedro cactus, and it's gentler. So we do Aya, full on, strong ceremonies, some of the strongest I was ever part of. I just got back like 10 days ago. And she's a beautiful teacher. She was human once, by the way. Me and my impudence in one of the ceremonies asked Aya, were you ever human? And she responded instantly, just the way Moses just did. She goes, yes, but I don't want to talk about it. which got me laughing. And then, but I kind of went around her and said, I'm going to look at your file anyway, at your Akashic records, which at a certain point you can. The purer your heart, the less judgment you have, the more access you're given to all the records.
Yeah.
The less you're going to judge people, then you're safe to look at their files.
Of course.
Makes total sense. So then she was joking with me. She goes, as I go around her to look at her file, she goes, who let this guy in? I'm going to have a talk with you guys. Who's responsible for this guy?
Yeah.
My teachers, like Babaji, whatever. But she's a real teacher. And this is actually a really interesting point. The traditional thing, or the thing that we've gotten inculcated into us, is that somehow enlightenment is, the yogic energy so strong, the Tibetan, the Buddhist yogic, that's become the caricature of enlightenment. The yogi on the top of the mountain peak in the Himalayas. And so her and Pele, for instance, Pele is another ascended human, the goddess in Hawaii, that I've met and talked to. And she showed up at one of our retreats there, and just, these are etheric beings. They can manifest physically if you can handle it, which most of us can't. We usually pass out instantly when that happens. It's kind of like Paul on the road to Damascus. But she showed me, or I looked at her file, and she showed me, she said, I didn't do the Kundalini awakening enlightenment, which can be done beautifully, by the way. You can do that with including the body and the emotions, and not leave a remnant of yourself behind. Of course, Buddha, many other masters. But she showed me how I saw her as a human in this place in the Sacred Valley in the upper highlands, the Altiplano of Peru, back when there was influences from other space civilizations, the guys with the big tall heads, the cone heads, and some Atlantean stuff. And she was there. She was a priestess. I could see her, how she looked as a human. And but when she merged, perhaps there's a new model of enlightenment. Instead of ascension, maybe it's expansion. And that's what she showed me happened to her.
Wow.
When she expanded, merged, she included the jaguar, the anaconda, all of the jungle flavor, insects, centipedes. This is why she's a master of all those animals. And often during ceremonies, people will have the animals visit them, like the blue young purple jaguar is a known thing, or the anaconda and so forth. And she showed me, I did an expansion. Now, this is a horrible image, but when a bomb goes off, there's a shock wave, right? I imagine that being a love bomb or an expansion, awakening one. It's like a soft. And then also with the stars. So she merged more like a sphere instead of a ascension.
Cool.
And I think that's actually a new model that's coming into the earth, which is partially why she's so popular. And why we're going to learn that more and more. And that part of what my interest is, firstly for myself, because I want to feel good. Emotions and the body. These are treasure troves of pleasures. Feel it. The emotions in the body are the nuance. They're the spice. They're the flavoring. That's why we go to movies. Not to learn mathematical formulas. You don't go to, if there was a movie of a professor talking about, you know, parallel universe equations, you'd be like, hell no, no one's buying that ticket. Right?
We get that for free in school.
Yeah. I'm sorry, yes, will this be on the test? Right, so we come for emotions. We incarnate, and they're going to turn out to be the flavors of absolute delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
You think the French are good gourmands? Are you serious? Earth emotions are the flavor of the galaxy, literally. We're not the only planet, but there's not that many that are trying this emotional nuance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I mean, we all know that. When Paul McCartney was just listening to Blackbird yesterday, or came on the radio, and I'm like, he channeled that thing. It's like perfect. Like,
Yeah.
everybody resonates.
Yeah. It's
You
beautiful.
love it.
Mm.
Love it. So, a new spirituality that includes our body, includes the spicing, flavoring, nuance of delicacy dishes, love in all its many varied forms. It's been a horrible sojourn in the sense because we judged against it. It's like a woman giving birth deciding midway through, I don't want to go through with it.
Yeah.
That's very painful.
Yes.
And she needs to be sedated, right? So that's what we've done on Earth. We thought, let's go for expanding godhood into these new toys, bodies, emotions. So that's why all disease is basically emotion based.
Yeah.
Or spirit energy resistance based. So we've created a horrible sort of breached birth for a while. Now it's going to turn out to be good, but it's trauma, drama, and karma. And I have forgiveness for all the techniques. There was a right time during the Dark Ages that the only thing that worked was monasteries, celibacy, you know, or even that it wasn't celibate, but we're completing those things and something simpler. I've been so lucky, and I don't mean to yak on and on here, but the last two courses of awakening I do, the weekend course I do, we had Shaktipat at a whole new level I've never felt. Full body Shaktipat, pleasure Shaktipat, and people stayed awake.
Wow.
In the past, often when
Yeah.
that comes in, people tend to go to sleep, or, you know. And I'll tell a story. One of my friends was my teacher, we're friends, but his teacher right here in Arizona, was an American Jewish gentleman named Lester Levinson, who was very wealthy, who had a massive heart attack, wake-up call, and became sort of an Eckhart Tolle awakened, but he was early in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Once in one of his meetings, and he would dress like a little businessman, it was so sweet. And but he was dangerous too. He was very dangerous to anything that you were holding on to. I'll tell us this day. Once he was in the bathroom with my friend, and they're standing next to the urinals, and I swear, Lester goes, "What are you holding on to?" He was such a playful master. But once he was in a conference room, and he'd have wealthy people, you know, that were attracted to him, and all kinds of people. And he brought Jesus into the room. He was talking about Jesus, and then he stops and goes, "Do you guys want to meet him?" And everybody's like, and sure enough, a light formed in the corner, like a Vesica Pisces, like the elongated egg, or the Sophiac crack in the world, the vagina, let's be honest, is the star portal. And out of 20-some people, all but 3 fell forward and went out, which is what spirit does, very lovingly. If it's too much, it just kind of sedates you. You still get the download, but your conscious mind isn't scared. And so 3 people were semi-conscious, like deer in the headlights. And I'm telling all this just because it's time to tell, you know. It's time to share this stuff. And if it had, and I used to feel it for years, why don't I get experiences like that? And then one day you start realizing softly, it's like a morning glory flower opening. Oh, I have been experiencing that. I've just been filtering it out all this time. You know, and you actually start realizing, and that's why Buddha laughs, because he's like, oh my God, I went through all that crap for nothing. 7 years of hurting myself and eating horrible boiled rice. Right?
That wasn't the only one.
Exactly. My friend this day, who was part of Michio Kushi, who was the macrobiotics thing, and they ate Oriental food for so many years. I still haven't been able to, in 20 years, to get him to go eat Oriental food. He just still cannot do it because he just cannot do it. So yes, so lately it's great, super grace. It doesn't always happen. You can't demand spirit. It's mysterious, but in Sedona, I'm going to do 4 courses in 2017. I'm going to travel a little bit less, but I'm going to do them every 90 days. I'm going to post that at courseofawakening.com.
Yeah, I will be posting your website and the credits so people can find your courses. Yeah.
But Shaktipat, which is the downloading of the pleasure principle, the comforter, Jesus calls it the comforter, the Holy Ghost. Same thing, the real thing. It all gets obfuscated, everything gets twisted and into cults, of course. But the comforter, it was really interesting, and everybody, was 12 of us, 13 of us, everybody stayed awake, which was new. Usually and one woman was very uncomfortable. She said, I don't like this. This is making me very uncomfortable. And I said, I understand. And she actually needed physical healing and said, it's okay, but this needs to happen for the group. Go outside if it's too much. And a scientific gentleman was like, I think I'm going to pop. You know, what's happening here? Right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
A lot from the intellect to take, I guess.
And he did great. It was wonderful. So there's something easier coming. We have to be detoxed. We can't just be given a free pass. You know, we have to upgrade the cells through eating better or whatever. But I mean, the rigidity of it is what's going to have to go.
Yeah.
Well, and so downloading this presence is happening. That's what Eckhart tries to share with people. He sits there and feels it, and he tries to osmoseously sneak it over onto people. Right?
Yeah, I love Eckhart. He's great.
Yeah, he's a particular teaching. You know, he's
Yeah.
got to keep it really sweet and quiet so no one gets scared. But yeah.
Well,
watch out for those guys, by the way, because you don't know what they're up to.
Scare people.
Right.
Why does he have to?
I don't think, I think I saw something where Eckhart talked about LSD. That's as risque as he's gotten. I'm not sure he's ever used the F word. But,
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he had. Maybe.
Proper.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
But so a grounded human spirituality is what God's source wants. God wants you to put him out of a job. Jesus wants to go surfing.
Yeah.
Can you guys get your stuff together? Because I'd like to go surfing for about 1,000 years.
A few more yugas.
A few more yugas.
Yeah. He's had enough of Kali.
Right.
Yeah. Can you show us some of your books? I understand you have Listening to the Sun is one of your books.
Yes. Yes. It's actually the same book, guys. I break the rules a little bit. This book, Listening to the Sun, is the same as the one which I don't have here. The angel, the white angel on the blue cover. They're the same book. Don't tell Amazon.
Okay.
But they haven't caught me yet, which I'm really surprised. I try to put in big capital letters on Amazon, don't order both books. And if you do, you know, I'm glad to give you something free. We'll share it. We'll give the book to someone else. So yeah, this is me being honest. This is me writing very honestly about my own awakening. 4 chapters on things like God is omnisexual, meeting the angel of death. My real experiences, just being completely free, going out. I'm not writing this for any image, no demographic, nothing. I'm just going to be real because I don't want to deal with trying to adjust the message. Yeah, it's still selling. It's been out for a while. And the reason there's 2 covers is because for years I called it Awakening Souls. If you look at Amazon, it's the angel floating on the blue water. And then literally when I actually got my stuff together and was actually going to publish it, Spirit came in and said, we want you to call it Listening to the Sun. And I said, I'm not letting go of Awakening Souls. I've lived with that for a number of years. I'm going to do both. So that's why I did that. But it's so hard to play outside the rules a little bit. And then there's a little book called Shackled Gods. Shackled Gods Universe. And it's a picture of the Laocoon, which was a priest who warned the people of Troy about the Greeks sparing gifts. It's the Laocoon, the priest who tried to warn them, and Poseidon got so angry at him, the story goes, that he sent sea serpents to devour him and his 2 sons, the Laocoon. This is an ancient statue that Michelangelo worshipped, in a sense. He said nothing could ever be improved. Michelangelo, 400 years, the upper arm that's bent was missing, and Michelangelo correctly predicted exactly how that arm that was found 400 years later would show. It's a beautiful story. But in here, these are direct my experiences going through the dark night of the soul and feeling deeply, and they would come I never edited. I mean, they would come perfect. It was like Paul McCartney wrote yesterday, so it just came in complete. So I put them in this little book for anyone going through when you're encountering some heavy dark stuff. It's not all dark, but it's very honest. The death cults have ruled the earth. So,
is that on Amazon as well?
Yes, the great maw, the mouth that eats us all, polyester souls, stuff like that. Neither young nor old. So that's a little bit of Taoists making you feel that I'm not crazy if I'm going through some real deep soul cleaning. Yeah. And there's a new one coming called Get Real to Heal, and I'm hoping to have that out by the end of the year, where I'm just going to really reiterate the main topic of my life, at least the last 20 years, that embrace to erase, include, but embrace just to embrace, not even to erase. No method, and keeping it, and our emotions and our bodies don't lie to us. That's some real true friends. The mind will lie to you or agree with you when you come up with something. They'll go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that. Let's try that. Right? It's like the bad friend that encourages you to do good, Your mind, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's start a church about that. That sounds like a good idea.
Let's blog about it.
Awesome. You'll get a new theory out there, and you'll get, people will be interested, and you'll get to be famous. It's cool.
Check how many likes you get.
Right. While the body and the emotions are over here going, we love you, but you don't give us any attention.
Yeah.
But they're faithful.
Yeah.
That statement makes sense. Your body and your emotions will not lie to you. They'll be polluted sometimes, right? You'll have mixed stuff in there, but at the root of it, your emotion's honest. It goes, there's something not right here. Okay, it looks really slick. It looks really good. That meeting I was having with Rockefeller and Rothschild, man, they got some nice stuff. Rothschild did a really good job, honey. It's a lot of money. I don't know. What do they want you to do? I don't know yet. They just want me to be on board.
Yeah.
Sounds really good.
Yeah.
Why is my solar plexus freaking out? I don't understand.
That's good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That happened to me, by the way. I almost one of my good friends went to work for the top hedge fund on the planet, basically. And when they were expanding, when I was just out of graduate business school, I remember he said, well, come talk to us. And all I did was talk to the guy about sailing. There's no formal interview. And at the end of it, he said, why don't you open a California office for it? And I was like, not that it's evil. It'd be fine if it was the right thing. It just wasn't the right thing for me at the time. And walking out, my solar plexus just went, warning, the mine's on fire, get out,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we surgically remove our gut feelings and our hearts, we end up in a heartless, soulless place.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a real place. Artificial intelligence, which is starting to happen right now. Pretty soon the iPhone will actually be implanted in the head.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's a choice.
Yeah.
It's already happened. Time is circular. There's artificial intelligence in the galaxy. It never ends up well. It always decides at some point to get rid of organic life because we're weak and unpredictable. So that is part of Earth's, there's part of that occurring right now, the Human Genome Project and so forth. But it's a choice as souls, and there's time loops, so you can always change your mind. But I'm going with the organic heart, body, sex, love, emotions, because it's my choice. It feels good to me. That's why, So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to share it for those and try to help clarify it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a voice that somehow when people listen to it, they go, oh, damn it, I couldn't put it into words, but that makes sense. Or, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love my role. And as long as it still wants to happen, I'll be doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Tobias. This has been educational, entertaining, uplifting, inspiring.
Oh.
Been really wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you for finding me and wanting to do it.
Well, actually, it's one of my husband's students found you.
Oh.
And he wrote to me and he said, you've got to listen to this guy. He says exactly what your husband says. So I looked you up and I thought, oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. So I'm glad.
Nice. There's a bunch of us. It's right under the surface. We've had enough that we're ready for something simpler, more direct and authentic, more direct contact.
Yeah.
And we've got a ways to go, Getting the idea is cool, and then we're gonna incarnate it into it, flesh,
Yeah.
and do it, and be patient with ourselves. It's a big job. Joy was just last night. She was hitting some deep stuff, and it's hard because we've got some toxic soul. We've got soul tartar buildup. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And love solves it all. It really does. Love is the solvent, but not programmed love, and it's been very difficult, but it is getting easier. I'm really encouraged. I know I'm living in my own little universe, and I know it's the horror show is certainly still going on. But I'm enthused, actually. I'm actually very enthused. One of my shaman friends says, basically, now it's going to be economic collapse, and, the planet's doomed, they're harvesting all the, and I go, you know what? We have a bet going. He thinks like, there's some doom and gloom coming. And I'm like, I think Source has some cards up its sleeve that you don't know about. So,
What do we know anyways?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have my fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. I just got these new shirts for silliness sake. I'm going to wear them out. It says, allow the doubt. I did come up with that. I'm not going to put my name on everything. And then I have other shirts that say, the only way out is in.
I saw that one.
I just put that up. First time I ever put it up. And we're not making money on it. We make $2 or $3 a shirt. But if anybody likes them, you can go get them. And I'm going to do my little things. Why not? Have fun with it. I want to stand in the grocery line and wear my silly shirts and see what people say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's great.
I'm going to do the one that says get real to heal. I'm going to do One full conscious breath, the world's shortest meditation.
That's my kind of meditation. Fuck the 3 hours. Not for me.
I have a friend, he's awesome, Nick, I'm going to see him this week. He's creating true rest float spas. He's taken the floats chambers, designing his own one that looks like an egg. He's got 6 franchisees now. It's 12 of them, I guess. He's actually bringing it to the masses. It's, always was kind of countercultural alternative floating in the flotation chambers or isolation tanks. He's doing a great job. And he's part of a teaching that does teach you have to sit there for 3 hours and burn through the nadis. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. It has its right time. But then eventually Buddha goes, let's order out. Anybody want ice cream? Right? Yeah, and you can't fake it. You have to, if whatever your next step is what I tell people. If you feel drawn to completing, I slept on the floor for 7 years and did yoga every night, and I would literally just fold over like I could do the cover, and then I would sleep on my back with my hands on my heart, And I wanted to, but someone would look at it, that's pretty, you could get a bed if you wanted one. And I'm like, I got over the vegetarian thing though, the vegan thing. I'm teasing. If you need to be vegan and vegetarian, you need to do it. You need to do it if your spirit's telling you. But I remember Baba taught me that. He said, you're a little too uptight about this vegetarian thing. So he said, tomorrow I want you to go to the beef eater restaurant. And so there is a place where the rules, the whole of the law is love. And we're headed there, and there's thousands, hundreds, and millions of us on the planet. We've had enough experience that whether you're, like we were just in Ireland, and the most painted up woman with the fingernails and perfect toenails and everything perfect, and her hair perfect, bless you, sweetheart. And we went out to a Stonehenge circle, like a 5,000-year-old stone circle that just happened to be real close to the retreat center. And it was in the middle of a sheep pasture. And now I'm thinking to myself, I really want to get them to take their shoes off, but I don't know, there's sheep poo kind of like all around.
Yeah.
And she's all, got her nice shoes on and everything. She goes, come on, everybody, let's take our shoes off. And so she you know what I mean? And she goes, it's fine, let's step in it. We didn't step, but it's all over. So don't judge people. You don't know. We're right under the surface, millions of us that are so ready for the authentic or something easier. But you're not going to be able to sneak your way in. You're going to have to get authentic.
Yeah.
God knows, Mother Earth knows exactly who's who. Everybody's on the radar. You can't fool Mother Nature, and you can't mess with God. Don't even try it. Stupid. Don't even try it. Why are you even trying? That's stupid. It just creates problems for yourself. Just get real to heal. Get real to heal. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
been so fantastic. So, yeah.
Much love.
Love to you too, and thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have. I hope you laughed with us, got inspired with us, and I hope you get real to heal with us. God bless.
Thank you.
Hit remény, mind azt, mi szép, veled megosztom én. Kicsin, csacsin,